We live in a world where emotional energy is currency, and too often we spend it on the wrong people. People who don't value your time, people who drain your spirit, people who only show up when it benefits them. And still you give, you try, you hope, because your heart is kind and your intentions are pure. But here's the truth. No matter how good your heart is, it will never be enough for someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, using you, or simply not growing with you. And the longer you invest your energy into the wrong people, the more you delay your own growth, your healing, and your purpose. It's time to stop pouring yourself into cups that don't pour back. Your worth isn't defined by how much you're willing to endure, but by how fiercely you're willing to protect your peace. Life is too short, and your soul is too valuable to keep handing it to those who don't know what to do with it. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Because once you stop investing in the wrong people, you finally create space for the right ones, those who see you, respect you, and grow with you. The people you allow into your life have the power to shape your destiny. So be selective, be mindful, because your life is a beautiful painting and not everyone deserves a brush. Let me share with you 5 powerful truths, 5 strategies that will guide your soul to protect its sacred space and never again invest in those who were never worthy of your light. People who drain you are not your responsibility to heal. There is something deeply noble in wanting to help others, especially when we see their pain reflecting our own. But there comes a point when helping turns into harming not them but yourself. You begin to feel like you're drowning while trying to keep someone else afloat, and in that sacrifice, you lose sight of your own strength. We are raised to believe that love means sacrifice, that to love deeply is to endure endlessly. But there is a vast difference between standing beside someone and being buried under the weight of their unresolved wounds. Sometimes their healing becomes a prison you willingly walk into, hoping your presence will be enough. But your presence is not a cure. You are not the answer to someone else's brokenness. You can guide, you can support, but you cannot fix what they refuse to see. Healing is an internal choice, a decision they must make for themselves. No matter how much light you carry, you cannot force someone to open their eyes. The truth is, the wrong people often seek those with soft hearts because they sense the unconditional compassion. And instead of using that love to rise, they use it to anchor you. They pull you into their chaos, not because they want to change, but because your stability makes them feel less alone. It's a painful realization, but not everyone wants to heal. Some find comfort in their pain because it's familiar. And the more you try to drag them out, the more they resist, the more they resent. And you begin to question if your love is failing them, when in reality, it was never meant to carry what isn't yours. There are people who will make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. They'll say you're giving up on them. But ask yourself this: when did you become responsible for their choices? When did your love become a justification for their destruction? You see, healing is a solo journey. No one can do the inner work for another soul. You can inspire, but you cannot rebuild someone's foundation with bricks they keep throwing away. And the longer you try, the more you erode your own. Your energy, your mental health, your spiritual wellness. These are not sacrifices. They are your anchor. And anyone who continuously disrupts your peace is not someone you're meant to save. They are someone you're meant to release. Letting go does not mean you don't care. It means you finally understand that care without boundaries turns into self-neglect. It means you honor your journey enough to not let it be hijacked by someone else's refusal to grow. You must learn to differentiate between empathy and enmeshment. Empathy says, I see your pain. Enmeshment says, your pain is now mine. And when you live in the latter, you begin to abandon yourself under the illusion of loyalty. You deserve relationships that feel like mutual growth, not one-sided rescue missions. You deserve to be seen not as a savior, but as a human being with your own needs, your own dreams, and your own wounds that require tending. The wrong people will applaud your sacrifice while continuing to take. And they will never pause to ask, but who is holding you? Because in their world, Your pain is invisible as long as their needs are met. You are allowed to outgrow people who stay stagnant. You are allowed to protect your peace even if it makes others uncomfortable. You are allowed to say, "This is not my burden," and walk away without explanation. Do not confuse guilt with guidance. If something feels heavy, constantly draining, and leaves you depleted, it's not a calling, it's a warning. And you owe it to yourself to listen. The right people will never make you question your worth. There's a special kind of silence that falls over you when you begin to feel invisible in the presence of someone you care deeply for. It's not because you have nothing to say, it's because you're tired of speaking only to be misunderstood, dismissed, or devalued. You start to shrink, slowly, not all at once. At first, it's in how you filter your words, then in how you hold back your truth, and eventually it becomes how you doubt your very right to take up space. This is what happens when you give too much power to the wrong people. But here's the reality. The right people won't make you wonder if you're lovable. They won't confuse you with mixed signals. They won't disappear when you're vulnerable and reappear when they need comfort. The right people honor your presence without needing reminders. When someone causes you to question your worth, it's not because your worth has lessened, it's because they were never equipped to see it. Their inability to recognize your value does not decrease it. It simply reflects their limited capacity. You do not exist to prove your worth. You do not exist to constantly justify your feelings or beg for validation. The right people will feel like sunlight, consistent, warm, and nurturing. They will see you even in your silence. They will hear you even in your stillness. But the wrong people will condition their love. Only if you act this way. Only if you stop doing that. They mold you, break you, then blame you for the cracks. They treat your love as a transaction rather than a gift. And in trying to earn their acceptance, you start losing yourself. This is how we lose our essence, not in loud arguments, but in subtle compromises. In overlooking disrespect because we don't want to be too sensitive. In settling for crumbs because we fear the table might disappear if we ask for a seat. You need to understand this. You were not born to beg. Your heart was not made to be negotiated. Your presence is not a favor. You are not a second option, a backup plan, or a temporary solution to someone else's emptiness. The right people will never compete with your dreams. They will never dim your shine so they can glow. They will want to see you win. They will celebrate your victories and hold your hand through your losses, not because they're perfect, but because they're present. And presence is everything, not just physical, but emotional, spiritual. Being with someone who makes you feel seen, even in your silence, is one of the greatest treasures life can offer. But you will only find that when you stop chasing those who overlook you. Start asking yourself, how do I feel around them? Not what they say, but how your soul responds in their presence. Does your spirit rise or shrink? Does your confidence blossom or crumble? Because the wrong people will make you question your worth, and the right ones will help you remember it. And remembering who you are is the greatest gift any relationship can give. You deserve clarity, not confusion, assurance, not anxiety, consistency, not chaos. If someone is not adding to your peace, they are subtracting from your purpose. You are not hard to love. You are just offering your heart to those who haven't learned how to cherish it. And that is not your failure. That is your lesson. You cannot grow where you are constantly being undermined. Growth is delicate. Like a seed trying to break through the soil, it needs light, nourishment, and space. But when you're surrounded by voices that belittle your dreams, mock your potential, or constantly question your capabilities, it's like trying to blossom in cement. The sad truth is, not everyone will celebrate your evolution. Some will feel threatened by your transformation, especially if they've benefited from your limitations. When you begin to grow, it highlights their decision to stay stagnant. And instead of rising with you, they will try to pull you back down. You begin to notice it in subtle ways. A sarcastic comment when you share your plans. A dismissive laugh when you express your vision. It's not always loud, but it's always there, that undertone that says, you're dreaming too big. But who decides what's too big? Who decides how far you're allowed to go? Certainly not those who've chosen fear over faith. Your future is not up for their approval. Your dreams are not a democracy. And your growth should never be sacrificed for someone else's comfort. When you stay in environments where your wings are clipped, you forget you were ever meant to fly. You settle. You silence your intuition. You start believing that maybe this is all there is. But deep down, a quiet voice still whispers, you were made for more. That whisper is your truth, and you must protect it. You must protect it from rooms that echo with jealousy, from relationships that thrive on your self-doubt, from spaces that see your worth only when it serves them, because staying in the wrong environment can shrink your soul. Growth requires discomfort, yes, but it should never come from being constantly belittled. Discomfort that leads to progress feels like stretching. Discomfort from constant criticism feels like suffocation. Learn to tell the difference. When people constantly undermine you, it's not about you. It's about the limits they've placed on themselves. It's about their inability to imagine a life beyond what they know. And if you let their small-mindedness guide your journey, you'll end up lost in someone else's map. You owe it to yourself to choose environments that nurture you. Surround yourself with those who speak life into your vision, not death. With those who challenge you to rise, not retreat. With those who remind you that your light doesn't need dimming, it needs space. You do not need to defend your dreams. You do not need to shrink to fit into someone else's insecurities. If they can't handle your growth, maybe they were never meant to grow with you. And that realization is not abandonment, it is alignment. Every time you stay in a space that belittles you, you teach yourself that disrespect is acceptable, that being misunderstood is tolerable, that mediocrity is home. But what if you chose different? What if you chose to believe in the seed that's been quietly waiting to bloom? You deserve to be watered, not with judgment, but with belief. You deserve to rise in places where your light is celebrated, not feared. And you deserve to outgrow anything that requires you to stay small to be accepted. There is no shame in walking away from people who cannot see your worth. Sometimes it's not a fight, it's simply a step forward. A decision to no longer engage in battles that distract from your purpose. Your potential was never meant to be explained to those committed to misunderstanding it. Your energy is precious, protect it. Your time is sacred, guard it. Your vision is divine. Honor it. Investing in the wrong people costs you your purpose. There's a unique kind of grief that comes from realizing you gave the best parts of yourself to someone who never deserved it. It's not just heartbreak, it's the mourning of time, energy, potential, and purpose that was slowly drained while you kept hoping they would change. When you invest in the wrong people, you don't just lose love, you lose focus, you lose clarity. You begin to revolve your entire existence around someone else's chaos. And before you know it, your purpose becomes a distant echo instead of a daily fire. You start to compromise. First your boundaries, then your dreams, eventually your identity. You become so entangled in their story that you forget you were writing your own. And in trying to fix them, you end up broken. You were born with a purpose that only you can fulfill. A unique assignment, written on your heart long before any relationship began. But when you constantly invest in people who deplete you, you starve that purpose. You leave it neglected while you try to be everything for everyone else. It's not selfish to protect your purpose, it's sacred. Because when you give your energy to those who only take, you are saying no to the places where your energy could actually bloom. You're saying no to your calling just to say yes to their dysfunction. Some people are not partners. They are distractions. They come dressed in affection, but underneath there's confusion, manipulation, and chaos. They don't want to walk with you toward purpose. They want you to pause your purpose for them. You were never meant to sacrifice your destiny for temporary companionship. Love that costs you your future is too expensive. No matter how familiar it feels, no matter how long you've stayed, you cannot afford to lose yourself again. When you stop investing in the wrong people, your soul starts to breathe again. You start remembering the dreams you placed on shelves. You start hearing your intuition more clearly. You start feeling peace not as a stranger, but as your default. Purpose is not always loud. It often whispers through intuition, nudges in the quiet, stirrings in your soul. But you cannot hear it when you're constantly surrounded by noise, especially the noise of someone who was never meant to be your forever. They don't have to be bad people. Sometimes they're just not your people. And that's okay. You're not abandoning them. You're choosing alignment. You're choosing growth. You're choosing to live a life that reflects your truth, not their expectations. You owe it to your future self to protect your purpose, to be brave enough to walk away when your soul is dimming, to trust that what's ahead is greater than what you're leaving behind, even if it hurts, even if it's uncertain. Clarity often comes after release. Once you let go of what was never yours, the fog begins to lift. You start seeing new paths, meeting new people, and unlocking new parts of yourself that were buried under years of emotional exhaustion. You're not here to just survive, you're here to shine. And you cannot do that if you keep pouring into cups that are full of holes. Your love is not the problem. Your purpose is not too much. You've just been giving it to people who were never meant to carry it. Stop trying to earn love where it must be begged. For love is not meant to be earned like a reward. It is meant to be given freely, with respect, with honor, and with presence. But when you constantly find yourself proving your worth, walking on eggshells, and silencing your truth just to be loved, that is not love. It is survival. You begin to mold yourself into their expectations. You laugh at things that don't amuse you. You downplay your opinions. You suppress your needs, all in the hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll finally see you, finally choose you, finally stay. But love that must be begged for is not love. It is controlled rest and affection. It is emotional starvation disguised as intimacy. And every time you try to earn it, you forget that love isn't supposed to be a performance. Your heart is not an audition. Your worth is not a role to win. If they cannot love you as you are fully, deeply, and without conditions, then they were never meant to hold your heart in the first place. It hurts, yes, especially when you've invested time, effort, dreams, and tears. But staying in relationships where you are only partially loved will teach you to settle for fractions when you were created for wholeness. You are not asking for too much. You are just asking the wrong person. The one who truly sees you will never make you feel like you're too emotional, too ambitious, too sensitive, or too complex. They will see those parts and say, "This is why I choose you." Begging for love chips away at your dignity. Every unanswered message, every delayed response, every dismissive comment, it slowly tells your soul that maybe you are not enough. And that lie becomes your inner dialogue until you reclaim your truth. You deserve love that doesn't require translation, that doesn't punish your honesty, that doesn't fade when you speak your needs. You deserve to rest in someone's presence, not constantly prove why you belong. Stop bending. Stop chasing. Stop shrinking. You are not hard to love. You're just trying to bloom in barren soil. And sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is walking away from the table where your worth is a debate. You are not here to beg. You are here to be. And in your being, in your fullness, in your sacred truth, the right people will recognize you without you having to convince them. When you stop begging for love, you make space for something greater. Peace, clarity, self, respect. And most of all, a life where love feels like ease, not exhaustion. Where it lifts you, not drains you at the end of the day. There comes a moment, not loud, not dramatic, just quiet and resolute, when your soul says, "No more." No more pouring into those who leave you empty. No more explaining your heart to those committed to misunderstanding it. No more investing the treasures of your spirit in people who only show up when it benefits them. You were not created to chase, to shrink, to break, just to be accepted. You were created to be whole, to walk in purpose, to be surrounded by those who see you, not just when you shine, but when you shatter. People who hold space for your strength and your softness, who don't demand that you beg for love, prove your value, or apologize for being too much. You are not hard to love. You are just precious. And not everyone has the hands or the heart to carry something so rare. Stop offering yourself in pieces to those who never deserve the whole. Stop trading your peace for proximity. Stop mistaking attention for affection and chaos for passion. There is power in walking away, not in bitterness, not in revenge, but in reverence for your soul. You're not losing anything when you release the wrong people. You're making room for joy, for alignment, for peace that doesn't tremble when you speak your truth. Let your life become a sacred filter. May only what is true, respectful, and nourishing reach you. And may you finally understand that the greatest investment you will ever make is in yourself. So choose you every single time. Choose your healing. Choose your boundaries. Choose your peace. And trust that by no longer investing in the wrong people, you finally make space for the right ones, the ones who don't need to be convinced of your worth because they already see it in the way you simply exist. You are worthy, you are enough, you are free, and you don't have to prove it to anyone anymore.